So in my last England video, I was talking about a real area of strength for England, their back row and all the great options they have, and getting all excited about it. But I want to balance it out with an area that I think is pretty weak and they need to develop some serious depth and kind of start again from scratch if they're going to get to a position of strength, and that is their centres. And they need to develop a world-class centre pairing or 3 or 4 centres if they're going to stand a chance in this next World Cup. Where have they come from? Who's dominated the centre in the past? Well, it's been Owen Farrell and Manu Tuilagi. When they're fit, they have been the premier pairing. Owen Farrell provided the handling, the kicking. He's also an incredibly robust 10. And then at 13, Tuilagi was like 2 players in one. He had the power, he had the speed, and he was a brilliant defender in that 13 channel. Of course, it probably all came to the head when they played New Zealand in that 2019 semi-final and played probably the best game they played for absolutely ages. Before that, who was the next best pairing? Well, it was Will Greenwood and Mike Tindall. Mike Tindall being the power guy, the strength guy, Greenwood being the ball player, although he was quite a big lad as well. And between that, we've had some other players. We've had Jonathan Joseph, we've had Henry Slade, of course. Joe Marchant was the go-to 13 until he moved to France. And we've had a few other guys. We've tried to fill that Tuilagi gap, if we like, with some big guys who haven't quite worked. We've had Sam Burgess, of course, Luther Burrell, Billy 12 Trees, and they've not quite hit the mark for different reasons. Brad Barrett was probably the closest guy we had to a power 12, but he was a bit more of a defensive glue player than a big line breaker. And we've had lots of good discussion on this channel and everywhere else saying that our power athletes really have gone into the back row than into the centres. Of course, there are different attributes than just power and pace, but you need that at least somewhere in your centre partnership. So I'm going to go through a load of options that I think could be in the frame for the next England centres, talk about some strengths, maybe some weaknesses, and also say what is my preference going forward, the kind of group of 4 or 5 centres I think we need to work with. And just before I do, a note that I still do have the 45% discount on the manual testosterone home testing kits if you want to test your testosterone, so 45% off on checkout if you use the code RugbyAnalyst45. Let's get into this list, and I can't do scores, I think, like I did the back row, because so many of these guys are unproven, they're new, they're young, a lot haven't even played for England yet, or not much anyway. Let's go through it alphabetical order, starting with the Bath guys, and Max Ajomo is very, very exciting. Son of England prop Steve Ajomo, but Max Ajomo is definitely not a prop. He's a ball-playing centre with some power as well. He's not the tallest, but he's still fairly bulky, and he will certainly bulk out a bit more. And he's just a brilliant creator, finisher. He had a great intercept try, length of the pitch in round 13, and I've got lots of high hopes for this guy. Big Will Butt of Bath is a big 12 who can hit some holes. He had a good start to the season. Is he England's answer? I don't know, but if you put him in there, I think he'd do pretty well, to be honest. And Ollie Lawrence is the poor guy who obviously did his Achilles in the Six Nations, had been England's preferred 12 or 13, wherever he plays. He's been England's power guy and been very useful to them, and he's been getting better. Partly it's his handling that's improved, his ball retention, which had been a weakness, so he was just getting up to that high level of performance and had a great chance to go on the Lions tour, and then that injury, really mucked it up and he was absolutely distraught. But if he comes back fully fit, he's definitely back in there starting, or at least in the mix. Then on to a bit of a dark horse, James Williams of Bristol. Tell me if you think this guy should be given a chance. He definitely fits into the Bristol style of playing. Has he got that international pedigree? Still not sure. Still, my mind is open about him, but we will see. Will Rigg of Exeter. He's a big rig, just like Will Butt. If you want to have a big guy at 12, maybe he's somewhere you could go, but again, a bit undecided there. A youngster who's a real punt at the moment is Zach Wimbush. Hasn't played much for Exeter, but he is absolutely massive, and just keep an eye on him. And of course at Exeter we have Henry Slade, who has all the skills, he's got great positioning, but as he gets older, 32 now, he's dropping off on that pace, and he never was the biggest, the quickest around. But his experience and Ollie Lawrence's power had been England's go-to until they've really changed it around and basically moved away from Henry Slade at the end of the Six Nations. I think that was kind of a conscious U-turn there. Can he get back in the team? I think maybe his time is gone and they will look elsewhere, such as young Seb Atkinson of Gloucester. Now, he has got better and better. At the beginning, I wasn't sure, he's not massive, but he's bulking up. He's very quick. He's got good defence as well. It looks like he's a brilliant all-rounder, and he's beginning to really show, I think, he's got those physical attributes to excel at a top level. So he is getting very close to an England cap. Would love it if he went on that summer tour. Then there's a group of Harlequins boys who are definitely close or thereabouts. Luke Northmore has kind of fluctuated in form. He's had injuries. He's just come off the back of an absolute nightmare game, actually, against Bath, so that doesn't help. But still, he's got a lot going about him. The guy I'm really excited about, though, for Harlequins is Ben Waghorn. Probably a 12 out and out. He's big and he's getting bigger and he hits hard lines, and I like the way he plays. His hands look decent. If you want a 12 for the future, he could be a way to go. Will Joseph obviously got called up to the England squad under Eddie Jones when he was probably far too young, to be honest, but he could see the talent there. And he's been hampered by injuries and not getting starts for Harlequins, hence he's moved to Gloucester. Could be a fantastic move, maybe replacing Chris Harris at 13, and then you can have Atkinson and Joseph at Gloucester, which maybe could be an England pairing. 22 years old, definitely one to watch. I think Oscar Beard's a bit ahead of him at the moment, and he was unlucky not to get a cap in the Six Nations, but he's incredibly quick, a brilliant drift defender as well, scores tries, so will he get an England cap or will it just pass him by? That's a close one. Another dark horse, I think, is Joe Woodward of Leicester, 21 years old, former under-20, and he is a powerful boy and he plays like a 10 as well. So it looks like this guy could have everything, and he's getting those starts now for Leicester in that midfield. So one to watch, maybe a bit early for the summer tour, but if someone took a punt on him, I don't think they'd be disappointed. Fraser Dingwall has got in there as 12 at the end of the Six Nations, and yeah, they say he's a glue player. He does nothing wrong. He's very good in defence. He's got enough in attack, but maybe doesn't excel in any area. But if you have someone like Tommy Freeman outside him and move him in from the wing, then you get the power there. Tom Litchfield's a guy who I said is very powerful and strong, a young centre, but maybe not quite getting the minutes yet for Northampton, but one for the future. A guy starting to come into the picture is Riketi Massey-White. I watched him for the under-20s a few years ago and thought he was very powerful, but he didn't half drop the ball a lot. It looks like he's better at that, but he's going to have to prove it now, getting starts for Sale, obviously filling that Tuolangi-sized hole. Naif Kalevi was going to fill that hole, but it definitely didn't work out for him, so he's left. So Massey-White could have a good charge at 12 playing for Sale. Then let's talk about Ben Earl. Now we have 6-2 splits on the bench, or even 7-1. Ben Earl probably will be used at centre a bit more, but should he be started there? It would be a bit of a dramatic positional change, but exciting. Do we need to do it because we are so thin on the ground and we've got so many back rows? Let me know if you think that's a goer. Another Saracen who was coming into the picture before injury at the beginning of the season was Ollie Hartley. 6'3", this 23-year-old seemed to have a bit of everything, size, power, some good skills. Can he come back from injury and regain that form? At the moment, obviously, he's got a lot of ground to make up on some of the others, but he has got some serious ability. Lazowski's always been there or thereabouts. He's kind of a 10 who plays 13. The first time I watched him live was at Wasps as a really good nippy 10, and he's developed into an all-round 13, a bit like Slade, I guess, but I don't know if, again, he excels at anything particularly. Joe Marchant went away to Stade Francais, but he's only 28. If he comes back to England, he could get back in that position. So loads and loads of different options there. None of them completely proven, I don't think. Now Slade's gone, now that Lawrence is injured. So to conclude the video, what is my preferred group of centres going forward? Well, I think it is mainly a young group who can improve, because I don't think we've quite got that established talent there, with Ollie Lawrence out injured especially. But I think we go for Max Ajomo, Seb Atkinson and Ben Waghorn as your 12s, who also can play 13, of course. I think those guys have huge ceilings on them. Would be very excited to see where those three can go. And then if Tommy Freeman can come into the centres occasionally or maybe permanently, that's another power guy with great skills. And with Lawrence coming back in, that's a really good 5. Very close, I think, is Oscar Beard, and very close, if he proves himself for Gloucester, is Will Joseph as well. But at the moment, I'd say those 4-5 would be my core group going forward. But yeah, it's a bit of a punt, but I think we need to go for excellence rather than kind of settle for okay and functional. Anyway, let me know if you think that's the way to rebuild England centre partnership. I'd love to know all your combinations down below. Do like, do subscribe. That would be amazing. If you do want to get that 45% off on Manual, I'll put the link down below for testosterone tests. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you think as always, and I'll catch you next time.